There comes a moment in football when a team stops being a surprise and starts becoming a genuine threat. Japan have been surprising people for years. They have beaten Germany. They have beaten Spain. They have beaten Brazil. They have even beaten England at Wembley, the first Asian nation ever to achieve that feat in history. At some point, we have to stop calling these results surprises. At some point, we need to acknowledge what is actually being built here and call it what it is: a legitimate force in world football. The squad that Hajime Moriyasu has assembled for the 2026 FIFA World Cup may well be the most talented group of players Japan has ever sent to a major international tournament. And that is not talent by Asian standards, it is talent by any standard. This is a squad filled with players competing and excelling at the highest levels of European football, from the Premier League and Bundesliga to La Liga and the Eredivisie. For years, much of the football world has underestimated Japan's rise. Recognizing their true level would require abandoning long-held assumptions about where footballing power can come from. Yet the evidence is becoming impossible to ignore. Japan became the first nation outside of the three host countries, the United States, Canada, and Mexico, to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Not the first team in Asia, the first team in the world. They secured qualification comfortably, while many traditional powers were still battling through difficult qualifying campaigns. Since 2022, the Samurai Blue have defeated Germany, Spain, Brazil, and England, four of the most respected footballing nations on the planet. Results like that do not happen by accident. They are not isolated moments of luck. They are part of a growing pattern, and patterns reveal the true level of a team. So before we dive into the attacking stars and midfield technicians, let's start where every great team is built, from the back. Because Japan's defensive foundation is far stronger than many people realize, and it begins with one of their most important players, Takehiro Tomiyasu. A player who spent years competing in the Premier League at the highest level, Takehiro Tomiyasu brings something invaluable to this Japan squad: experience. He understands the intensity, physicality, and relentless tempo of elite European football in a way that gives Japan a defensive anchor capable of standing up to any opponent on the world stage. Alongside him is Hiroki Ito of Bayern Munich, one of the biggest and most successful clubs in world football. The fact that Japan can call upon a center-back trusted at a club of Bayern's stature says everything about how far this national team has come. Ito is not merely a squad player. He is competing at the very highest level of the German game and gaining experience against some of Europe's finest attackers. Then there is additional depth in the form of Ko Itakura and Takehiro Watanabe, both of whom have developed their games through consistent football in Europe. When you take a step back and look at the entire defensive unit, what stands out is not just quality but depth. Japan entered this tournament with defensive options that many nations would envy. And then there is a living piece of football history. Yuto Nagatomo is set to become the first Asian player ever to appear in 5 different FIFA World Cups. 5 World Cups. At 39 years of age, he is still here, still contributing, and still earning his place in the squad. His presence represents far more than longevity. Nagatomo's career mirrors the rise of Japanese football itself. He was there when Japan was striving for global respect, and he remains here as the nation enters what could be the most significant chapter in its footballing history. But if the defense provides stability, the midfield is where Japan can genuinely damage opponents. This may be the most technically gifted midfield Japan has ever produced. Leading the group is Captain Wataru Endo, a player trusted by Liverpool in the Premier League. When a club of Liverpool's stature identifies you as the solution to a critical midfield problem, that speaks volumes about your quality. Endo brings leadership, intelligence, and a relentless competitive edge. Alongside him, Ao Tanaka and Daichi Kamada add further top-level experience, while Ritsudon continues to impress with his tireless work rate, technical ability, and knack for arriving in dangerous areas at precisely the right moment. And then there is Takefusa Kubo. The Real Sociedad star is the kind of player who makes fans lean forward in their seats every time he touches the ball. He thrives in tight spaces, possesses extraordinary close control, and can change the direction of a match with a single moment of inspiration. Elegant yet direct, creative yet efficient, Kubo enters this World Cup as Japan's most exciting attacking talent and arguably their most important player. Yet he also arrives carrying an additional burden. Takehiro Tomiyasu's injury has deprived Japan of one of the Premier League's most electrifying wingers. Fast, fearless, and technically brilliant, Mitoma has become one of the most dangerous wide players in Europe. His absence is a major setback, not only tactically but emotionally. Kubo himself has spoken about reaching out to his teammate and carrying that disappointment into the tournament with a greater sense of responsibility. However, what makes this Japan team different from previous generations is its depth. Even without Mitoma, the attacking threat remains substantial. Iesu Ueda, Daisen Maeda, and Kito Nakamura provide pace, movement, finishing ability, and relentless energy. These are forwards who have spent the season proving themselves in competitive European leagues and possess the qualities needed to trouble elite defenses. Most importantly, Hajime Moriyasu has built a squad capable of adapting to different situations. Throughout qualification, he demonstrated a willingness to alter systems, adjust tactics, and respond intelligently to the demands of each match. That tactical flexibility could prove crucial in a tournament where adaptability often separates contenders from pretenders. And that is why this Japan side deserves serious attention. Not because they are a dark horse, not because they are a surprise, but because they have assembled a squad with the quality, depth, experience, and belief to challenge some of the biggest names in world football. Whether Japan need to sit deep in a disciplined low block or press aggressively high up the pitch, they possess the tactical flexibility to do both. That adaptability has become one of the defining characteristics of Hajime Moriyasu's team. When the occasion demands patience, Japan can remain compact, organized, and difficult to break down. When opportunities emerge, they can transition from defense to attack with remarkable speed and precision. We saw this blueprint executed perfectly at the 2022 World Cup. Against both Germany and Spain, Japan absorbed pressure, stayed disciplined, and then exploded forward with devastating efficiency. Those victories were not miracles. They were the result of a carefully constructed tactical plan, executed by players who believed in it completely. The difference now is that the squad appears even stronger. There is more European experience, more Premier League pedigree, more players competing every week against world-class opposition. The blueprint remains the same, but the tools available to execute it have improved significantly. Now let's talk about the group stage, because Japan's path through this tournament is fascinating. The Samurai Blue have been drawn alongside the Netherlands, Tunisia, and Sweden. The Netherlands represent the biggest challenge. Ranked among the world's elite, they possess depth, technical quality, and tournament experience throughout the squad. This match will provide the clearest indication of where Japan truly stand among football's established powers. But here's the thing. Japan have already beaten England at Wembley. They have beaten Germany. They have beaten Spain. When you have accomplished those things, facing the Netherlands no longer feels impossible. Difficult? Absolutely. But impossible? Not anymore. Tunisia is the game Japan will be expected to win. And tournament football has a habit of turning expected victories into dangerous traps. The pressure to control proceedings, the weight of expectation, and the fear of making mistakes can complicate matches that appear straightforward on paper. Mature tournament teams navigate those moments successfully. Then comes Sweden, a physically imposing, organized, and technically capable opponent. By the final group stage match, every point will matter, and every tactical decision will be magnified. The route to the knockout stages is not just possible, it is realistic. And that is where the conversation becomes truly interesting. For nearly 3 decades, one statistic has defined Japanese football's World Cup story. Japan have never progressed beyond the round of 16. Not in 7 previous World Cup appearances. Not in 2002 as co-hosts. Not in Qatar, where they topped a group containing both Germany and Spain before narrowly losing to Croatia on penalties. Every generation has reached the same barrier. Every generation has stopped there. The round of 16 has been Japanese football's ceiling. But this generation feels different, and not because of hype or potential. It feels different because of proven quality. Wataru Endo, Takefusa Kubo, Hiroki Ito, Daichi Kamada, Ao Tanaka, and others are not simply playing in Europe. They are performing, competing, and succeeding at some of the highest levels of the game. Previous generations often raised questions about whether the talent level was sufficient to compete with the world's very best when the pressure peaked. For perhaps the first time in Japanese football history, that question no longer has an obvious answer. And that uncertainty is a sign of progress. Moriyasu has always possessed the tactical intelligence required for tournament football. He understands opponents. He prepares meticulously. He knows how to make Japan difficult to beat. What has changed is the quality of players available to him. There is also an emotional dimension to this squad that should not be underestimated. Takefusa Kubo's comments regarding Keiru Mitoma revealed a group that understands the significance of this moment. This is a team carrying not only ambition but responsibility. They know what previous generations achieved, and they know what remains unfinished. Of course, emotion alone guarantees nothing. Football remains gloriously unpredictable. A missed penalty, a deflection, a moment of brilliance from an opponent. Entire tournaments can be decided by events that no tactical preparation can fully control. Yet teams that genuinely care about what they represent often find an extra level when adversity arrives. Japan care. You can hear it in Kubo's words. You can see it in Nagatomo's commitment. At 39 years old with nothing left to prove, he remains part of this journey, preparing for a historic 5th World Cup appearance. So, would I predict Japan to win the World Cup? Probably not. The depth of talent possessed by nations like Brazil, France, and England still places them among the tournament favorites. But would it surprise me if Japan reached the quarterfinals for the first time in their history? Honestly, no. After Wembley, after Germany, after Spain, would that really be a shock anymore? I don't think so. And any team that has not paid close attention to Japan's evolution over the last few years may soon discover just how dangerous the Samurai Blue have become. Japan are no longer trying to prove they belong. They belong. The only remaining question is how far this generation can go. Now I want to hear from you. Can Japan finally break through the round of 16 barrier? And if they do, how deep can this squad go? Leave your prediction in the comments below. If you enjoy thoughtful football analysis and stories that deserve serious attention, make sure to subscribe and join us throughout the tournament. Because football at this level is never just about results, it's about moments. And for Japanese football, this may finally be their moment.